Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 9th of September 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Monday's afternoon session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, so also just a quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and of course our JFD website, JFD Bank website, and specifically our JFD research page, which you can always check out on a daily basis, and I believe you can find something useful here. So right now, guys, let's jump into the charts. Now, the first one I want to touch on here is the Nasdaq100. Now, looking at this index here, last week it had a great run. It managed to push higher, and overall, of course, this is what I kept talking about when I was covering Nasdaq100. We are still trading within this nice rising wedge formation, potential rising wedge formation, of course, and it seems that after breaking this key barrier here near the 7,770 zone, it traveled higher. Of course, it seems that it wants to continue pushing higher. Looking at the cash index right now, we can see that the price is around the 7,880 zone, so it's somewhere around here slightly. So basically, we could see a nice opening gap here to the upside. Not a huge one, but still it could be a positive sign here. So for now, as long as it remains trading above the 7,770 zone, we will continue targeting the upside. Our next potential target could be around the 7,940 zone, marked by the high, or should I say by the intraday swing high of the 1st of August, and the next, and then after that, of course, the psychological 8,000 level could be a nice good potential target, of course, and this one right here, basically that marks the high of the 1st of August, and yep, and of course we could see this one pushing further up, but of course let's not get ahead of ourselves too much. First, the main thing here is to keep an eye on the 7,940. If this gets tested, the next potential target is around the psychological 8,000 level. So that's in the scenario if we see a further continuation to the upside here. If we see a slide back down, again, we will remain somewhat positive here still if it continues to trade above the 7,770 zone. Now, again, you're probably thinking that maybe we'll remain positive as long as it remains above this upside line. Certainly, the only thing is that if it travels back below the 7,770 zone here, this is going to be somewhat of a neutral territory, to be honest, because before examining higher levels, if this travels below the 7,770 zone, we'll wait for a nice strong rebound here from this upside line, from the lower side of the rising wedge, before kind of, let's say, examining maybe higher levels again. But again, like, that's why I'm saying that if we see a drop below this level, then yep, this is going to be somewhat of a neutral territory, and this area right here near the 7,600 zone, a break below this would of course automatically place the price below the lower side of the rising wedge, and this could in a way open the path towards slightly lower areas, and one of which could be around the 7,356 zone. So keep your eyes on this one. Let's see how this is going to play out. For now, we are more positive than negative on this one, but again, like I said, keep your eyes on the 7,770 zone. Gold, very quickly, quick mentioning of this one. So of course, overall still climbing higher, still trading above this upside support line taken from the low of the 30th of May, but recently, after kind of, or should I say, after last week's hit of the 1557, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just quickly adjust. There we go. There we go. So after hitting the 1557 level, it reversed and pushed to the downside, and today you can see that it's struggling to push above its pivot point, so above today's pivot point, which is near the 1512, 1513 zone. It did have an attempt recently right now, but as you can see, it kind of failed to do so. So all this kind of creates this atmosphere where we could see a further slide lower, a test of the 1492 zone, 1493 area, or even actually going further down a little bit towards this upside support line. Now, as long as this line remains intact, we will of course continue aiming to the upside, but again, we'll be very careful. If we see the slide lower here, we will wait for that rebound here and only then aim for higher levels. And if it travels lower here, but let's say struggles to find good support, then we'll be very careful here, as we might see this one breaking and pushing to the downside. But again, like I said, as long as it remains above this line, we will aim for higher levels in the at least in the medium term. Jumping into another very interesting index, actually. So this is DXY, and so the dollar index, as you can see, lately it's struggling to push above the 98.55 zone, sorry, 98.50, 51 zone. For now, of course, you can see that it's also trading above this upside support line taken from the low of the 18th of July. In a way, after hitting the 99.37 zone, it retraced back down. It seems like currently it's holding the path towards this upside line here. So in a way, this is what we're gonna be targeting for now, unless this suddenly pushes back above the 98.50 area, and then yep, we will aim for slightly higher levels. Again, this barrier here, from the very short-term perspective, this barrier here, the 98.50, 51, is going to be the one to watch in order to consider slightly higher levels. But in terms of the downside, from the very short-term perspective, what you could do here is keep an eye on this 98.19 zone, approximately around there. A nice good drop below this could in a way lead towards another test of this 98 zone, but if this fails to withhold, now this is where it could become a little bit more exciting for the sellers, at least in the short run, as we could see this one, this index traveling towards this upside support line. For this upside support line, well, remind you again, it's running from the low of the 18th of July. So keep your eyes on this one. As I said, for now, keep your eyes on these two main levels. So on the upside, the 98.50, and on the downside, initially start looking at the 98.19, but just for that better extra confirmation, drop below the 98 level could do the trick here for the bears. Jumping into a few pairs now, a few dollar pairs, and this leads us into USDJPY. Now here we're seeing a slightly different picture. I mean, even though the dollar index is weakening, the USDJPY is kind of trying to push higher. This, of course, nothing to do, well, not really much to do with the dollar, as it's more due to the yen. So the yen is on the weaker side right now. Given the current kind of risk-on mode, the yen, everybody's kind of getting rid of yen for now, until the risk-off environment returns and we see an increased yen buying. So for now, this is what's happening here. So as you can see, it probably could travel higher, but given the slight weakness in the dollar right now, it is kind of getting a hold up near the just slightly below the 107.1820 zone. So as I said, as I talked this morning, this is the breakout that we need in order to kind of consider further moves higher. In terms of the downside, the 106.68, that's what we're looking for. A drop below this could in a way lead this the pair a little bit lower towards the 105.69 initially, and then maybe the 105.54 could be a nice target, good target here for USDJPY. But then again, for now, like I said, we are somewhat, let's say, neutral on this, and we're going to continue observing the price action and monitor these two potential breakout point. So on the upside, let me just actually drag this highlighted area for the upside, and that'll be probably much better here at this level than down there. So these are the two levels. Keep your eyes on those, and let's see how this is going to play out. USD-CAD, very quickly on this. So this is feeling the heat, of course. So last week I talked a lot about this one, and basically what I was saying, that if we see a drop below the 1.31800 level, the next target for us here is around the 1.3113. So in a way, such a move could come in line with the DXY projection. So let's see if it actually reaches that. For now, this is going to be our target. It is trying to push lower today. It's currently balancing in between the pivot, today's pivot, and the S1, probably more closer to the S1, which is around the 1.3137. So for today, we could actually target this still. We have still the full US session to go through, so we could potentially reach this. But again, like I said, the main target for us is around the 1.3113, and then we'll take it from there, see what he wants to do. If it wants to travel further down, then yep, good news for the bears. But this is the level where we could see maybe a bit of a rebound here, and maybe a small correction to the upside. So keep your eyes on this one. Euro dollar. This morning I talked about this one as well, and basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this 1.1024 zone, 24, 25. As long as it kind of remains in kind of strong, and as long as it stays strong, we could see a euro dollar pushing back to the upside. The only thing is that what I also mentioned is that in order to aim for slightly higher levels, ideally we will wait for a push above the 1.1085, and then yep, we will aim for slightly like I said, higher levels. The only thing is that we'll be very careful due to this downside resistance line taken from the high of the 24th of June, as it may kind of keep the rate down for a little bit, and if it does that, then well, it will be very tricky with the upside. But if it breaks, if the euro dollar finally breaks this downside line and pushes above the 1.1129, we could see a bit of more upside here, maybe even actually targeting the 1.1190 or around the 1.12 zone. So good potential target here. And like I said, for now we're going to be very careful with this one because it's very tricky, and yes, it might not have a nice rebound from the 1.1024 zone, but still, as you can see, it's kind of, it didn't have the bulls didn't have enough steam to push this one even higher. So for now, this is the game plan. In terms of the downside, yes, we'll wait for a drop below the 1.1024. We'll start considering the downside then, but especially if we see a drop below the 1.1008, and yep, then we will aim for the levels like the 1.0975 or even below that. Another interesting pair, GBPCHF. So today we're having a nice boost here in the pound. So we did have some good data coming out from slightly good data coming out from UK, and also of course the Brexit developments. There are some nice positive headlines, and all this kind of added up into GBP kind of accelerating against its other kind of major counterparts. So GBPCHF here made a nice push higher, broke above the 1.2205 zone here, and then traveled towards the 1.2235. So I talked about this one this morning, and this is what I was saying, that if we get a nice push above this, then there is a good chance we could see a further move higher, maybe even going towards all the way towards the 1.24 zone. So again, don't get me wrong, this could in a way continue pushing higher, but at some point, maybe around here somewhere, it could find resistance, then correct, and then resume the push higher. So again, be very careful with this one. Still, it's the pound we're talking about, so it still kind of is vulnerable to any Brexit headlines. So that's why, guys, be very careful. Always kind of take it with a pinch of salt a little bit here. So for now, of course, at this current stage, this current environment, yes, it is pushing higher. It may travel all the way here towards the 1.24 zone. 1.2370 zone. This is what I'm talking about here. Sorry. This is going to be our target, the 1.2370, marked by the high of the 25th of July. So good potential target here. and then we'll take it from there. See what it wants to do. If it wants to push further up here, then yep, that's good. But don't get me wrong, at some point here, around here, we could see this little correction back to the downside. In terms of the correction to the downside here, in a way, if you see the rate falling back below the 1.21, 27, 25 zone here, then yep, we will consider the next potential target, this upside support line, this tentative upside support line, taken from the low of August here, and this move lower here could be seen as I said, this temporary correction, because as long as it kind of remains above this upside line, we could in a way continue looking to the upside. But again, like I said, from the very short-term perspective, that's how we're going to play this one out. For now, yes, we are going to be aiming for slightly higher levels. Our target is around the 1.2370. And then we'll take it from there, see what he wants to do after. And the last pair I wanted to quickly touch on, and that's GBPUSD. So also having a nice boost this morning. You can see that it managed to rebound from this 1.2233, 35 zone. Still, again, this is what I was talking about as well previously last week. So in order to kind of consider a push back down, ideally we would like to see a drop below this downside resistance line, and only then kind of we will aim for slightly lower areas again. But again, until we see that drop back below this line, we're gonna continue targeting the upside. You can see that today the pair managed to perfectly test the 1.2380. It got held near that level, and now you can see the bears are kind of trying to fight it back, trying to push it back down. If we see another push above the 1.2380, then the next target for us is going to be this little inside swing low here. Let me just adjust this. There we go, near the 1.2416, 15 zone. I do understand it's only about 35 pips away, but nevertheless, keep your eyes on it. But a slightly better target for us is going to be around here near the let me just adjust this. There we go. 1.25, 18, 20 zone. So we'll keep a close eye on that level. But again, for now, guys, in order to kind of consider a further move higher, ideally we need to see that nice good push above the 1.2380 zone, and only then we will continue targeting the upside. So keep your eyes on this. If this decides to reverse and travels back down here, all this area for us for now is somewhat of a neutral one, and just we're gonna keep away from here and just gonna continue observing the price action if we see a strong reversal back down here towards this area right here. Because like I said, with the downside, a drop below the 1.2175 and a drop below this downside line, this is what we need in order to kind of aim for lower levels. Okay guys, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching it till the end. Just to let you know that there won't be any traders tea time or espresso tomorrow. We'll resume on Wednesday, and I hope you have a fantastic trading day or trading evening today, guys, and of course tomorrow. Have a nice, wonderful trading day tomorrow, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Thank you very much, and bye bye.